So, about a year and a half ago, I had a random idea for a video about a theory I had about Deltarune Chapter 3 and what it's going to be about. I made it did pretty well, plus I think the idea is pretty good, but my ability to technically make videos at the time was pretty bad, plus I have a bigger platform now, so I'm remaking it, especially since Deltarune Chapter 3 is probably coming out relatively soon. That being that contrary to every prediction AU and the Spamton sweepstakes, Chapter 3's Dark World will not be a TV-based Dark World. Oh, and before we get into the video proper, I highly suggest you like and subscribe. I think this for several reasons, partly because there just isn't enough TV stuff to make a TV-themed Dark World. Chapter 1's Dark World was a toy/kids playroom themed Dark World, and what do you know, it was created inside a kids playroom full of toys and cards and the things that actually make up the bulk of the Dark World. Chapter 2's Dark World was a world themed around computers, and what do you know, it's a computer room full of computers that would become computer stuff in the Dark World. However, I don't see Chris's house becoming a TV-themed Dark World, seeing as the only TV-related thing in it is a single television set. I don't see that being enough TV-related stuff in the right world to create enough TV-related stuff in the Dark World for it to be a TV-themed Dark World. Now, I will admit that the Spamton sweepstakes did have a lot of stuff that seemed to be foreshadowing a TV-themed Dark World in it. However, I have several rebuttals to this. Mainly that I think it was a red herring, that being a bit of fake evidence that's meant to trick us. I have several reasons to think this. For one, the fandom had already been theorizing that it was going to be a TV-themed Dark World for a year at that point, and the fandom's track record of accuracy is, iffy. In addition to that, the screenshots we saw were so limited and vague that they could realistically be quite a few things. Yeah, this all looks like vintage stuff from between World War I and the 60s, which is the time period we associated with TV because that's when it got started up. But this could easily be from a different Dark World, like, say, the Diner, since Diners also have a 50s aesthetic, because that's when they were a big thing. And the amount of material it gave us was limited enough that it could easily be fit into a separate chapter while still looking like it's part of one thing, or even just be straight up fake, since it wouldn't have taken that much time to make this little stuff. I also have some ideas about where I think they're going with this chapter Dark World. Obviously we know that Toriel's going to be in this Dark World because she's in the house when the Dark World's created, but also because Chris slashed the tires of the car, Toriel called Undyne, and so now Undyne's coming, which means she's going to end up in the Dark World. In addition to that, if you go to Sansa's shop, Asgore talks about having a reunion with the family, which means he might also come, and then in turn he ends up in the Dark World, and at this point, we have an awful lot of Undertale's cast having ended up in the Dark World. So what I'm thinking they might do is an Undertale-themed Dark World, as in a Dark World themed around homages to Undertale, which has all the important characters from Undertale ending up in it. Hell, this even opens the door to a Flowey-themed secret boss since, well, we as the people in the real world haven't really forgotten about Flowey. Within the universe of Undertale, Flowey is very much forgotten about, seeing as people don't remember him after he resets the timeline, and people generally don't care about him in spite of the fact that he's, well, Asriel. You know? Again, there is an abandoned set of flowers in that bin. In spite of all that, I actually doubt that this is actually going to happen for a couple of reasons. For one, Toby has said that the Chapter 3 will not be a very plot-heavy chapter, and everyone knowing about the Dark Worlds now because they were in one would be a bit of a plot turn, to say the least. And while Toby can be a bit of a trickster, I don't think he's one to lie quite that conspicuously. Another thing that makes me doubt this is actually going to happen is I think we've misunderstood the nature of Dark Worlds with the whole theming thing. Like, Chapter 2 had a pretty coherently themed Dark World, being Cyberworld. It's still computer and internet themed. But if you actually do a sober assessment of the Dark Worlds from Chapter 1, it doesn't seem so much like that, since people say that Chapter 1's main Dark World was a toy-themed Dark World, but if you look at it more closely through that lens, you get the question of why isn't there a dollhouse? Why isn't there toy robots? Why is it centered around cards of all things? Those aren't commonly played with toy. And then the Dark World in the Closet is a whole nother story, like, what even is the theme of this? Is this a Dark World-themed Dark World? That doesn't make much sense. In reality, the Dark Worlds seem to just be based on whatever's in the room around them, with not much of a theme besides whatever light theme you might be able to tie to the room. Like, yeah, the Cyberworld's a computer-themed Dark World, but that's because it's from a distinctly computer-themed room full of computer stuff. you know, if there's non-computer stuff in there, then that's going to be part of the dark world. If you have a world with no coherent theme, like, say, somebody's house, then you're going to get a world with no coherent theme. It's just created from all the things in their house, or perhaps maybe you might be able to twist that as a house-themed dark world, or a home-themed dark world. It's not really... You get my point. But regardless of that, I make this video anyway, because even if correct theories aren't likely to be true, they're still they're still fun to speculate about and imagine. Like, yeah, White Theory probably ain't happening, but, you know, The Friend Inside Me is a good song, you know? Like, it's fun to have camaraderie around betting on unlikely things, and to make fan works imagining it, so I'm putting this out either way. Oh, and a slight addendum is also that it could also be the case that that Chapter 3's Dark World isn't even in Chris's house. I remember that at the end of Chapter 1, they had that whole thing where Chris lives his life and we think, oh my god, they're gonna go out and kill someone, and then it turns out they're just stealing pie. I could very much see this being another thing like that. I mean, I'm thinking this little end scene might be a little harder to explain by that, but, you know, maybe they just struck a pipe and caused the gas leak. Maybe it's all a dream, maybe... I could see them pulling a trick like Chapter 1 again, though maybe not as likely. Hey, so I've got another video out. It's somehow been almost another 2 weeks, but not quite this time. It's supposed to be a bit over 2 weeks this time, so that's good. So yeah, I think this video's production was mostly painless. The main thing that really caused me issues was there was a problem I was having when trying to move photos from, and video as well, from my phone to my laptop, where I would put in files instead of photos because of something I changed, set up a whole chain reaction of, it's stupid. So that's not great, and that probably delayed this by a good day or two. I still have to do a thumbnail for this video. You know, knows what I'm going to do with that. I'll figure something out. I need to figure something out. I want to get this out before the end of July. I know it's an arbitrary goal, but I want to have 3 videos out in July. And hey, even a non-that show video out in July. If you can't tell, I'm trying to avoid swearing because YouTube now is stupidly strict TOS on swearing. Current CEO, I guess. I mean, if we got on what's her name's case, then we can get on what's his name's case. Anyway, bye y'all. Click on other videos, please.